Hello friends, welcome to this tutorial in Revit architecture, which is ideal for beginners. This video is focused to be a practical exercise instead of just a theoretical lesson. However, if this is the first time you are viewing this program, I recommend you to watch first of all the tutorial for beginners that you can find in the card above. There is also a link in the description of this video. Along with this lesson, I have provided support files for this exercise which are exclusive for supporters in my Patreon page. The files are Revit projects and PDF files from different chapters. So, are you ready? Let's start the lesson. Okay, this is the Revit home screen. Now we have to start a new project. For that, we have to click on New, and in this window we have to choose a template. As you can see, there are several loaded in this list, and it may be a bit different from yours, depending on the options you chose in the installation menu. Anyway, if you are not happy with these options, you can always browse, and you can find much more templates here, which are organized by language. For example, this is the English folder, and there are templates both for metrical and imperial units. Okay, here I'm not going to choose one of these templates, so I close the window and select here the architectural template and click on OK. Now, this is the main screen of our Revit project. I have the workspace in the middle and at the sides the properties and the project browser. Probably in your version, you have the properties and project browser at the left side, as it's usually the way it comes by default. If you are happy with that, just leave it how it is. But for example, in my case, I prefer to move the project browser to the right because I have a large screen in my computer. The working area is still wide enough and I have also big panels. Now, one important tip: if you cannot see the properties or the project browser, click with the right button and make sure they are activated. In the next step, we are going to check out the units of this project. Going to type UN and this window opens. The units are grouped by discipline. And on the Common tab displays the general units, or probably the most used ones. If you look at the parameters, you can see that at this moment we have the length in millimeters, area in square meters, angle in degrees, the distance in centimeters, and so on. Now let's keep how it is. I'm not going to change anything and click on OK. Before starting drawing this exercise, I want to introduce to you the project browser. This is the place where we can access the different parts of this current project. And to have a better idea, I'm going to open a sample file, click on File, then go to Open, and find the option at the bottom of this list. I'm going to choose this one, RAC Basic Sample Project. Open it. And you can see this is very complete, even they call it basic. So, by default, it opened the tab A001 title sheet. This is actually one of the sheets that we prepare for printing. Then we have different kind of views here. For example, floor plans. Let's open this level 1. Next, we have a floor above, level 2. Below that section, there are 3D views, for example a kitchen. This is an aspect of the solar analysis. Or we can also have a general 3D view. Below we can see the elevations, and then also other type of views that we usually have in our projects. Sections, detail views, or even renderings. Other important feature are also the schedules or quantities tables, that we can easily create them here as this is a BIM software. So, I'm going to close all the tabs of the sample project and keep the first one, level 0, the file we are doing this exercise. In this next section, we are going to start drawing the proper house. And the first thing we will do in this exercise is drawing the walls, both exterior and interior. Now, let's start working in this level 0 view, the ground floor. And to add walls in the project, go to the Architecture tab and find this Wall Architecture icon. Click there. As you can imagine, it's very easy to just draw a wall in the project. Just click for the start point and then click again for the finish point, and here you have a wall. Now, of course, there are several things to edit here. The wall type, materials, the length of the wall, among many others. But that's fine. Let's go through this step by step. Now, the first thing we need is to choose the wall type. I'm going to click on this icon, and you can see this list with the current types that are loaded in this project. The exterior walls are on the top of the list. Due to that, let's go for this one. Then click on Edit Type. And because I'm going to do changes here, and as this is a default wall, I think it's better to not lose it, I'm going to duplicate this type, so I create a new one with a name that suits me better. For example, exterior wall 350 mm, which is actually the current width. Click on OK. Next, I can edit the width if I want. But not here. It doesn't work. To edit the width, we have to go to this button instead on Structure and edit the thickness of each layer separately. For now, let's keep everything how it is, but let's start being familiar with the wall components. This current wall type has a finish face with 50 mm of thickness. Then there is a thermal air layer, and the proper structure, made from metal, measures 200 mm. Then it's also possible to change the material of each layer. You can see that there is a big list here, but this is something I'm going to skip because I think we will not need it in this early stage of this tutorial. So, I'm going to start drawing the exterior walls using the floor plan level 0, which is this one, the ground floor. Select the type we have created. This one, the exterior wall 350 mm. And look that a temporary tab opened in the ribbon, which is specifically for placing walls. On the Draw panel, we need to choose one of the methods available. By default, we make the walls using the Line tool. It's the most common one. But of course, in some specific situations, we may need other ways, like arcs, drawing the walls in a circle format, an ellipse, even polygons, etc. In our situation, let's go with the Line tool, and then below we have the options bar in green color. To start, let's keep everything how it is except the location line, which is set by default as a wall center line. Instead, we have to use the finish face, which is set by default as exterior. Now I'm going to click to start drawing the wall. Then move to the right horizontally and type the distance of 1200 to 100 mm. It is the same as 12 meters and 20 centimeters. After pressing enter, we can draw another wall, this time a vertical one, and make sure you can see this label called vertical and extension. To set the dimension, there are two ways. Type the value with the keyboard, or click when this temporary dimension line matches the value that you want. For example, if I wanted 5 meters, I could click exactly at this moment. And don't worry, because unlike AutoCAD, in Revit, the length is exactly the value showing there and not something approximate. Another thing, pay attention to what the dimension is actually measuring. And in this case, it's correct because our location line is on the inner side of the walls. Now, this is 8.5 meters, and let's go forward. To draw the next horizontal line, I'm going to drag to the left, and this time I can find this intersection point. As this wall is the same as the first one, I click there, and finally I can connect the last wall to my origin. If I click exactly in this endpoint, we will close this loop. And now we have the first skeleton of this house. Now, before starting with the internal walls, I want to introduce to you how snaps work on Revit. And I'm going to start with the length dimension increments, which is the way I insert the length by only dragging the pointer. And they depend on the current zoom of the window. Let's have this different example. I zoom out, and you can see that now the dimension increments every 1 meter. For example, currently this line measures exactly 5 meters. Then let's continue. I zoom in a little bit more, and at this moment the values changed in a smaller range, this time in intervals of 0.1 between each measurement. If you still zoom a bit more, now the values are even more closely to each other. They are only snapping every 0.02 meters. So, all these settings are editable. On the Manage tab, we have to find this icon Snaps. In this window, the section above is exactly what I was talking before, the dimension snaps. In length dimension snap increments, it indicates the ranges that I'm using. The first value is when I am at a minimum zoom. The pointer snaps every 1 meter. Then, at a certain moment, it snaps only every 0.1 meters, and so on. Back in our project, as the unit here is millimeters, the increments are 1000, 100, 20 and 5. I'm going to change the last one to 10, which is 1 centimeter. Although you can delete it and keep only 3 stages, because probably we are not going to use so small values. On the panel below, we can edit the object snaps. Those are the points we want to snap the elements that we are modeling. Currently, we have activated all of them that you can see here. Endpoints, midpoints, nearest, tangents, or centers. Let's skip all of them for now and click on OK to close the window. Then, if I want to insert another wall, I can start exactly from the midpoint of the wall on the screen. This corner showing as an endpoint, or even the endpoints of the lines that are dividing each layer. That's why we have to be careful. This is important. When we are in a large zoom, it's a bit hard to notice if we pick up the correct point. Basically, when you are not sure, always zoom in your drawing. You avoid clicking on the wrong place, and sometimes you don't notice it right away, especially if you are new to Revit. Now in the next section, we are going to learn how to set levels in Revit. Their purpose is to indicate the position of each story in a project, and we can make a floor plan for each level. There are 4 elevations loaded: East elevation, North elevation, South elevation and West elevation. They are indicated in the floor plan by this symbol, the circle with a kind of an arrow. At this moment, the symbol is a 12mm circle, but I can change it to a different one here. There is this 10mm ones, and then in the project browser, the elevations are grouped by type. I'm going to press Ctrl Z to undo this. And now, If I click in one of the symbols and press delete, I can see a warning says the elevation will be deleted. It automatically disappears from the project browser. Okay, let's go back again. And now I'm going to open a west elevation. I double click here. This rectangle is actually the projection of the walls we've already drawn in this project, our exterior walls. To make the things easier, I prefer to have these notations outside from the drawing area. For that, I'm going to click on level 1, find this grip, click and hold it, and drag to the left side. As you can see, all the levels, in this case I have only 2, extend together. Then I go to the right side and I repeat the process for this grip and leave it there. The next step, I'm going to rename each level according with my preference. For example, I'm going to type for this 0 ground floor. Would you like to rename the corresponding views? Yes, and I tick here to not show this message again. You can see it was renamed also in the project browser. Next, I'm going to do the same for the level 1. I type 1 first floor and press enter. Now, when I select one of the levels, temporary distances show in the screen. Here I can see the distance from the level below up to the selected level and from the selected level to the top of the walls, in this case. To move the level height, I click and hold the object and drag it to where I want. The ground floor, I want it at the reference height of 0 meters, and the first floor, it's currently at 3.4 meters, and I click on the dimension length to change it to 2.8 meters, 2800 millimeters. Now, I need to add a second level in this project. At the Architecture tab, this one. Then I place the pointer next to the level symbol and move slowly up, and you can see this temporary dimension from the first floor appearing. This time I'm going to type again 2800, so both floors will have the same height. To place the other end of the level, I can find this vertical tracking at the end of the other levels. Click now. Now I'm going to select the exterior wall, and as you can see, its height is 8000 meters. Why? Actually, I didn't change the height by default. Because if you look at the options bar when placing a wall at the first time, you can see the wall will measure 8000 millimeters and is unconnected. And that means that it does not depend on the position of any level. Now, let's say I'm going to draw a new wall, but this time I changed this option to first floor. Let's make the wall at this side. Let's place the wall, for example here. I'm going to open a west elevation. And you can see the new wall shows at the left of the main building. And the height is just 2800 millimeters. Let's select the wall. And you can see at the properties, the top constraint is now first floor, what I defined before. So that's the place where you need to look at. Now I press delete to erase the wall because I don't need it anymore. And actually what I want is to select all the others, but I recommend you to do it from the floor plan. Here you can open a selection area and you make sure that you are selecting all the walls. Now I go to top constraint, change it to this time level 2. And now it shows the value of 5600 and I cannot edit it from the unconnected height. So in this situation, now we have the exterior walls up to the roof level. That's the new name I want for the level 2. So, a great advantage about using top constraints in walls is that later, if I decide to change the position of the levels, the wall's height are automatically readjusted. On the next step, we are going to draw our internal walls, and for that, we have to go again to the command walls, and this time on properties, I'm going to choose an internal wall type, this one. The width is 125 millimeters, as you can see here, and I'm going to duplicate this wall and put an easier name to recognize it. And in the same way as for the exterior walls, I'm not going to change the settings, just keep everything how it is for now. Click on OK and close. Now we are ready to draw the walls, and in this video I'm going to start from the bottom left corner. But of course, you can try a different method if you want, which is actually a good thing for your practice. Back in the project, at the options bar, I'm going to set the height with the top constraint at the first floor, and you can also check it out here at the properties. First, turn on the command wall, and I'm going to have this endpoint. Don't click yet, just move to the right, and I'm going to type the distance where the first wall starts. It is 2.5 meters. Its length is 3600 millimeters. That's what I need to insert. And after, I'm going to extend this wall up to the exterior wall at the right. Make sure it's vertical, you can notice when you see the dashed line, and click when the intersection snap point shows in the screen. Press escape just once, and then I click in a new point to start another wall. This time I'm going to this corner. I move slightly up, and now I type 1200. I'm drawing it towards the left side. And as the width of this corridor is 1200, you can notice the wall should be above the dashed line. When this happens, you can press the space bar and it switches to the other side. So you can click when you see these track lines intersecting, two track lines intersecting. Then there is a vertical wall to divide the room here. This distance is 4150 and link the wall to the top. Press escape. Next, I'm going to show you a new tip. Draw another wall from this intersection. And if I push and hold the button shift while drawing, I am locking the vertical direction so I can easily join it with the exterior wall. On the other hand, if my pointer is closer to the horizontal direction and hold shift now, you can see this wall will be horizontal. In Revit, walls are easy to stretch or to shorten its length. When we select a wall, we can click and hold this blue grip and drag it to extend to where I want. Here. Likewise, I can shorten a wall again from the grips. Let's place this one to make a corner here. Now let's look again at our drawing with the dimensions. And there are still 4 remaining walls to insert. Now, you should be able to draw this by yourself. So I'm going to explain this roughly. For example, I can start on this corner, type 2175. Then I need to press space here to switch the wall position. Type the length of the next wall. And connect this one here. Now look at this corner, as apparently there is a gap here. When you place the wall, Revit automatically fills it. For the last, The spacing required is 1.2 meters, and I need to press space again, join it to this place, and finally I press escape once to cancel the next wall, and escape again to exit the command. Now I am going to open a 3D view from the project browser. Double-click on the name. Nice. Now we can have a better perspective of the height difference between exterior and interior walls. As you remember, the top constraint of the exterior walls is the roof, and we can confirm it by looking at the level position. On the other hand, interior walls just go up to the first floor level. Now let's close the 3D view and open the floor plan first floor. Now, what do we have here? Only the exterior walls, as they are the only ones that go up to the roof level. However, we can still see the interior walls as a light color, but we cannot select them or edit them. Basically, they are shown here as an underlay layer, and it means that we can see the walls located at the floor below. The underlay has the function to help us on the modeling process, and in this exercise, most of the walls on the second floor overlap with those on the first. At this moment, our underlay range is between the ground floor and the first floor levels. And of course, we can edit this range when necessary. Okay, let's start making the walls for the first floor. This is the floor plan with the dimensions, and you can see that most walls are in the same place. It's exactly with them that I'm going to start, and you will see it's going to be pretty easy and quick. Click on the command wall and make sure the interior wall type is selected. Then, for the location line, let's keep with this finish face. Okay, the method I'm using here is drawing from the snap points and follow the position of the walls below. Like this. Now, as I reach this wall and there is nothing to draw here, I press escape only once and click to place the next wall. If the location line is on the opposite face of the one you need, remember to press the space bar to switch to the other side. Next, let's continue drawing these walls here because they still overlap the first floor. Now let's go for the walls that don't exist in the floor below, and I will do it in the same way as I did previously. Place the pointer at this endpoint, move up, and type the correct distance. And now I need to press the space bar to move the wall to the other side, and join the wall here. After, for this wall, I do the same thing, and even I don't know the exact length, the wall has to intersect this auto track line. So click and then join the wall with the corner. Now I just need the remaining walls. And now look at this tip. Actually, to draw a wall in an exact location, it's not required to have the endpoint, as most of the time if you place the pointer at the wall, this temporary length appears, and we just need to type the value. Then this time, as this distance will be 2 meters, look that it's also easy to place the right length by only moving the pointer. So we have finished all the walls in this exercise. Now I want to propose you a second practice. But first I'm going to change the scale of both floor plans to 1/50, so these elevation symbols are a bit smaller, and then I'm going to place them just in the middle of the floor plan. Now it's more centered, it's better. Change also the scale for the 0 ground floor. And now for the second exercise, we are going to draw all the walls again, but with a different method. Basically, I'm going to show you how to move walls in a simple and effective way. Let's use just the ground floor and delete the interior walls. Also, I will take the opportunity to show you how the selection area works. Click and hold with the left button. Open the area to the left side. As you can see, with this, I select every element that is partially within the area. On the other hand, if I open the selection area from the left to the right, I only select the elements that are totally inside the area. In this case, only these two walls. So press Escape and open the selection again from right to left and press Delete. Now, as an exercise, I'm going to look at the floor plan and let's draw all the walls like a sketch without caring about the distances. Just roughly, like this. But of course, use the snap points to join them with the exterior walls and also with the walls that I'm drawing. After this step, I have to move the walls to its right position. Let's start from the top at the left side and select this wall. Now look, when you select a wall, these temporary dimensions show up on the screen. Their purpose is to indicate the distance to the nearest intersections, in case I need to move the wall to the sides. Here, this length has to be 3700 mm, and I simply click on it to edit the value. Just this, easy. Then, the next dimension also changes as the wall moved to the right. But, if I try to set the correct length right now, you will notice that the wall moved again, and the first dimension line is no longer 3700. So I'll push Ctrl Z to go back. The length is again 3700. And basically, to edit the second length, I have to move the next wall. Click on it and edit the length as I did previously. Now, I think you should be able to continue the process by yourself. Then this wall is 2175 mm. And if everything is correct, this length should be now 3 meters. If not, it's because you probably did something wrong before, and in that case, you have to go back and check all the walls again. Now let's pick up this horizontal length. And this time, the temporary dimensions are vertical. Why is that? If you select a wall and try to drag it, click and hold and move, we can only displace it in a way that we won't deform the structure, in this case up or down. Because if you try to move it in the same direction, Revit don't let you, because it's constrained with the vertical walls. That's why if a wall is vertical, we move to the left or to the right. However, if a wall is isolated, it has no constraints, you may have temporary dimensions along the same direction. Back in our drawing, I'm going to edit this dimension to 3575. And for this wall, I need something different. The length of this temporary dimension is measured by two different points if we compare with the PDF file. But this is simple to solve. I can click on this grip at the baseline and drag it to the other wall face. Release now the button because it's snapping to the face. Then I can change to the length that I need. This vertical line has to go a bit to the right, and this length needs to be 1200 mm. Next, I'm going to click on this wall at the corridor, and also this temporary dimension line has to measure the corridor distance. That's why I have to click and drag again the grip and place it at this wall face. Then, now you can see the length is not correct. I have to change it to 1200. Finally, I need to check out the two vertical walls below. This is the first one, and the length is 2500, which is actually correct. So I can go to the next wall, and now change to the value that I need. Okay, everything is finished, but I have to push this dimension to the exterior wall and confirm it measures 5300. Remember that the last dimension has to match if you did everything correctly before. In the next chapter, we will insert the doors and windows in this project. And I'm going to start with the doors. I have to choose the type here, and you will notice that there are just few of them to choose from. But don't worry, because if you don't like the shape or these door sizes, there are much more to download from the libraries. But anyway, at this moment, it's fine with what we've got here, so I'm going to pick this door. One nice thing is that we can normally understand the height and the width by looking at the type name. Of course, if you want to be completely sure, it's better to confirm it on the type properties here. But I can tell you, at least the doors loaded by default have the width and the type correct in the name. Click on OK and let's start. I'm going to insert the first door in this room, and before clicking, I can see the distance the door will be from the walls. Now, for this exercise, I wanted to make this step a bit of freestyle for you. I haven't added dimensions for the internal doors, so you are free to play around with them and you can decide where exactly they will be. You can choose a different type if you want, or even load it from the libraries. That's a tip I'm going to explain to you after this part. Here I decide to place all the doors at 10 cm from the closest wall. For this door, I didn't click exactly at the right place and the door went a bit to the left. To fix this, select the door and you can edit the distance to the one that you need. In my case, it was 100. Another way to place the same element in the project again is clicking in this door, then hit the right button and go to Create Similar because I want exactly the same type of door. Do you see? It's appearing when I hover the wall. Another thing you've probably noticed is that you cannot place a door alone. And honestly, I think it would be a bit weird at least. So, doors and windows are hosted by walls, meaning that they only show when you place the mouse over a wall. So now you can keep placing the doors for all the rooms, you can follow the image I shown before, or just place them in your way. But there is another tip I want to show to you, which is to flip the door. It's very easy. You can hit space to flip to the left or to the right, or you can also click on these arrows. With this one, I'm flipping the door to the other side. Nice. So then you can place the doors for the first floor. I'm not going to do it here, and that's something for you as a homework. Now we can go through the next step, which is inserting the exterior door. As I told you before, I'm going to introduce to you how to load an Autodesk family. We will go to the Insert tab and click here, Load Autodesk Family. In this window, we can browse from loads of families organized by category. Now what we need is doors, and as you can see, there are loads of them to choose from. And to be more specific, we can select also a subcategory here. I'm going for this exterior door, and if I want, I can also load more than one door at the same time. But for now this one is alright. Now I go back to the Architecture tab again, activate the command door, click on the icon and select the door type. I go for this length 910 mm and insert it here at this wall. Now another tip. Okay, 2 tips. Yes, I love to tell you tips all the time, I know. It's just my nature. So, this is the first tip. Look, if I place the pointer slightly below the wall, the door opening is upwards. Now, let's move a bit above. The opening, switch it to the other side. The second tip is, while moving the door around the middle of the wall, there is one moment that Revit suggests me to place the door in the middle between the 2 walls, with both dimension lines being equal. Now let's switch to the first floor, and as there are still remaining the doors here, I encourage you to draw them by yourself, but if you wish, you can follow my suggestion that I show to you in this plan. So this is actually easy. Just follow the same process, and as some of the doors are exactly in the same place as in the floor below, just go to the shadow and make sure the distance to the wall is the same as the floor below. In my case, 100 millimeters. Then keep inserting the doors for the other rooms. And finally, as there are some different walls, I need new doors, and don't forget to flip when you think is necessary. Now yes, we can start talking about windows. First, we are going to load an Autodesk family in the same way as we did for the doors. Here I click in No Results and select Windows. There are lots of them here, and some actually beautiful. Okay, this time I recommend you to use this specific family, Windows DBL Swept Head. This time we are going to use exact measurements from the walls, and if you use a different family, probably the sizes won't be the same. I'm going to activate the command window, click on the family, which is this new one, 1360 mm of width and 910 of height. Then I'm going to place the windows according to the example. Let's place the pointer on the wall at the side below and wait until this distance is 1100 mm. Click. Then do the same for the window on the next room, but this time the distance at the left should be 500. There is a second window on the room, and again 500 mm from the wall. And keep doing the same for all the others. In this situation, the window has to be in the middle, but you can see the distances to the sides show us 407.5 instead of 408. This happened because the dimensions are set to not display decimal cases. Moving on, you can insert the remaining windows by yourself, and when you finish, just press Escape. An important tip: when you insert a window on the wall, there are 2 positions. Be aware that you place it correctly, as the window itself is usually closer to the outside of the building. If it's on the wrong side, just select the window and click on this arrow to flip it. Now, before creating the windows in the first floor, I want to talk about the visual styles and detail levels. Click in this button. This is the View Styles menu, and currently we have this option set to Hidden Lines. Here, the most basic style is the wireframe, where you can see all the edges from the solids. To notice better this difference, look when I change to wireframe in this 3D view. Then we have shaded, consistent colors, or also the realistic styles. This one, you can notice even the materials when you have a closer look. Now, the more detailed is the view, the heavier it will be for the computer. So make sure your PC is powerful enough. On detail, we have 3 stages: coarse, medium, or fine. With coarse, the drawing is very simple, although it's enough for a lot of situations. However, if you like to have the things prettier, you can use medium or with fine. You can see here the door frames shown now with more detail. Now, to add the windows to the first floor, I activate again the command, and with the same window type, I'm going to place each window exactly in the same position as in the floor below. If you move slowly, you can easily find the moment where the window snaps. In the north side, all the windows are override with the ones on the ground floor, and then I need another one here. Then there are 2 places where I need a different type. I'm going to switch this to 910 by 910. Place the first one at 200 millimeters from the interior wall, and this one, even it's smaller, you can place it around there, and after change the temporary dimension to the right one, which is 940. Finally, there was another window remaining here in this room, which will be a bathroom, and place it exactly in the middle, when both distances show the same value. Now, things start to be more challenging. At least in my opinion, it's not very easy to learn how to draw stairs properly. So I will try to make it as simple as I can. Let's see. Okay, before adding the staircase to our house, let's make an exercise first. I'm going to draw some walls at the right side. And for that, I'm going to click on this exterior wall, right button, and go to Create Similar. And I am using exactly this wall type. I click here to start drawing, and let's make the interior measurements as 8 meters each wall. At the end, press Escape twice. Then let's activate the command stairs. It's this one. And now I want to introduce to you a new feature, the sketch mode. In this mode, our drawing becomes temporarily locked, and we have to make our sketch with the tools that we can see here on Components. When we finish, it's mandatory to click on the tick to confirm the stair, or on the X if we want to cancel it instead. So that's the only way to leave the command, and you can press Escape so many times that it won't work. So this is an important tip to remember. Now, by default, the first thing we will draw is the run, and its shape is straight. I click to start a stair, it can be here, and now look at the options bar. The first parameter is the location line. It's placed now at the run center, but if I wish, I can change it to one of the run sides, or even at the exterior support. That's exactly the one I'm going to choose, the left exterior support. Okay, I move up to draw the stairs, and if you look at the information, you can guess what is the desired number of rises to reach the next level. For the stair type, it is 17. And at this moment, I create 9 rises if I click right now, and there are 8 still remaining to reach the first floor. So click, and then I have to start the second set. Let's move up the pointer. You can see the extension track line. I'm going to start here, but as I want to create this run to the right, it doesn't work here. Press Escape. Now I hover the pointer on the other corner, move it up, and let this distance be more than 1 meter. click, move to the right and click again when you don't have any riser remaining. Finally, to confirm the stair and exit a command, we have to click in the green tick. Nice, it's done. Now let's have a look at how the stair looks like in a 3D view. It's this. As you can see, I started drawing from the ground floor, and the top part is exactly at the first floor level. Let's go back to the ground floor, and now I'm going to select the stair, and this may be a bit tricky to understand in the beginning. I'm going to move the pointer towards the inner side, and as you can see, everything highlights now. If I click and drag, I move the stair to another place. Press Ctrl Z to go back. On the other hand, if I place the pointer here, I am selecting only the railing, and by clicking and dragging, I just move the railing out of the stair. Also, if I click on the arrow, I'm only selecting the stair path, which indicates the direction to go up. Okay, now I'm going to show you how to move the stair to one of the corners of this room. First, make sure the symbol move appears. Then we can try to move the stair to that place, but you will notice it's hard to fit exactly on the corner. So in these kind of situations, the best is to use the Modify tools. Here in the Modify tab, I'm going to click on Move, select the stair, press Enter, select this endpoint, and to move it to the corner, I have to click at the room's corner. Now we are going to learn some important tips to help us to edit and modify some of the stair components. When I select the stair, I can flip the stair direction if I click on this arrow. And then you can confirm it on the 3D view. Also, you've noticed there is a notification that the railing is not continuous now. That's because there is a break at the landing when it changes the direction. For now, we will not worry about that. It's just a small detail that can be fixed by increasing the landing. Then let's double click in the stair again to go back to the edit mode. Remember that this stair is composed in 3 parts: 2 runs and the landing. If I select this run, temporary dimensions show up in the screen to allow me to modify the sizes. I can change this dimension if I need a specific distance from where the stair starts to the wall. Or I could change this dimension at this side if I want just a specific length for this run instead. Remember that any modification I do, it's the run that moves because it's my selection. Finally, this dimension here is the actual run width, that you can still check it out on the stair properties. Let's click here and change the run width to 1200 mm. The run stretches to the right, keeping the left exterior support in the same place. If you remember, this was where I set the location line before. However, by changing the line to the run center and repeating again this step, you can see the run stretches to both sides equally. Let's go back again, and now suppose I want to decrease this length to 900 mm. Look what happened. There is a warning. The actual run width is less than the minimum specified in the stair type. Basically, if we go to Edit Type, the first section is for the calculation rules: maximum rise height, minimum tread depth, and maximum run width. If you are having troubles to understand what these parameters are, have a look at this picture here. So these are the values by default, and we can edit them if we need. Then when one of the dimensions is out of this range, we get a warning from Revit Even it's not mandatory to respect the rule. And we could place a stair with, for example, a really narrow run, like just 50 centimeters. Okay, now I hit Ctrl Z to undo, and it's time to start making the stair on our project. Okay, first, in order to have enough room, let's move the exterior door to the right of the main hall. After clicking on it, I'm going to change this distance to just 100. Then I also flip the door to the other side. Okay, now let's insert a stair. I click on the button, make sure the location line is on the left exterior support, the actual run width is 1000 mm, and that the landing is set automatically. This time I will make the stair outside so I can move it to its right place after finishing it. I start here, move vertically up, and I can use Shift to avoid the stair bending to the sides. And then, when I have 3 rises remaining, I click with the left button. Then let's move to the right to start a second rise, and when I see the distance from top of the run to where my pointer is, I'm going to type a value. And let's say I want to start the next run at 1200 mm. Then I move to the right, and as you can see, I can create 3 rises more. Yes, 3 rises, because the landing also counts as a rise. Click on the tick to confirm the stair, and the next step, I need to move the stair to the interior of the house. Go to the Modify tab, click on the command move, which is this one, then select the stairs, make sure everything is highlighted, press enter and click here for the start point. Then I want to move the stair to exactly this corner. Okay, next, suppose I decided to make this landing a bit narrower. That's easy. I can double click on the stair to go back to edit mode. Then I'm not going to select the landing, but this run here. What I can do is changing the total distance here to have 10 centimeters less. I'm going to type for it 4350, press enter. And as you can see, the thread depth didn't change, it was only the landing, and I have a bit more space to the exterior wall. Likewise, if I change the value to a bigger one, I have a wider landing with the same thread depth. I press Ctrl Z, I am still with the 4350, and click on the tick to exit. Now, it's time to learn some tips and advices that sometimes we have to apply during our projects. Have a closer look at the exterior walls. Actually, I just realized that there is something we have to change here. This narrow area is the finished face of the wall, which normally has to face outdoors. So how can we flip the wall structure without changing the plan? Sometimes this can be a bit tricky, but you are going to understand this. First, to select all the exterior walls, I pick up one, right-click, select all instances, and then choose Entire Project. In this case, a visible view would also work. Now, if you remember, I can hit the spacebar to flip the wall to the other side, but it's actually changing the position. And this is because I'm flipping according to the position of the location line. Let's go back, and you can see that currently it's on the finished face exterior. If I change to wall center line, I am now able to flip the wall by pressing the spacebar to the other side without changing the wall's position. So, this is the way to solve this kind of issues. In this part, we will continue with our floor plan, and this time we are going to insert floors in the building. So, to insert a floor, let's click on Floor Architectural. And we are going to start with the ground floor. The first thing, I'm going to select my type. And let's choose this thick one, because it's for the ground. As you can see, the thickness is 480 millimeters. Another thing, like the stairs, floors open in the sketch mode. And this time we are going to choose this method to pick walls. Here is simple. I'm going to click in each 4 exterior walls. And at the end, just click on the tick over here to confirm the floor. Now we have a floor below the level 0, and in the 3D view, we can have a better perspective of its appearance. Now, let's switch to the first floor, and here we are going to place another floor for this level. This time we will choose a different type with less thickness. This floor upper with 160 millimeters. In the same way as the floor below, I'm starting with picking walls, and then I need an empty area without floor here around the stairs, in order that people can reach the first floor, of course. The method I'm choosing is, I'm switching here to draw a line, then I go to this intersection, and draw an area with lines here. Then everything can be edited later if we need. Now, be aware with this, if I click on the tick, I get a message from Revit, saying that lines cannot intersect each other. As I'm making a geometry which is actually a polygon to draw a floor, I have to erase this segment. There are several ways to do this, but I will use this command, split an element. This is simple. Try to find this intersection and click there. Do the same on the other side, and now this line is separated in segments. Then I click on Modify to be able to select the line and delete it. Now if I confirm the changes, but there is an important information. Would you like walls that go up to this level to attach to its bottom? Since the floor is generated below the current level height, if I answer yes to that question, the walls on the ground floor will decrease its height in order to attach to the bottom of the floor. So I click on Attach and the floor is created. Now have a look at the section view. You can see the interior walls are now top constrained by the floor instead of the level, as it was originally. Okay, the next step, we are going to the roof level, and let's insert a roof here. The option I'm going to choose is Roof by Footprint. At the options bar, there are a few settings, and by default I have the option Define Slope ticked. Let's leave it, and as the roof opens in the sketch mode, I'm going to use the same method as for the floors. Let's go to the walls, and I can draw the roof boundary either in the interior or exterior side. Of course, we should cover all the walls with the roof, so better to click on the exterior face of the wall. Then I select all the others and confirm the roof. It's done. Now look, it seems that the roof is flat on the top, but it isn't. Actually, what I am seeing has to do with the values I defined on the view range, but that's something we will cover later. Now I'm switching to a 3D view and the roof fits perfectly within the walls, as you can see. Nice! In this exercise, this is not what we want. The roof will look like this, so we need to edit slopes and we will set an overhang. Going back, I'm going to delete the roof and insert a new one. This time I'm going to change the overhang to 300 millimeters. With this, the roof boundary is drawn at 30 centimeters from the face, and that face, it can either be the interior or the exterior one. Here we need to pick the exterior face and then select the other walls. Next, every edge has a slope defined as a 30-degree angle. However, I don't want a slope for the left and right faces. I click first on Modify, I select this line, hold Ctrl and select the opposite one on the other side. Then on Properties, I'm going to remove the tick here on Define Slope. Next, the remaining two sides, we still keep the slope, but with a smaller angle. Then, for the remaining two edges, we will keep the slope, but with a smaller angle, just 18 degrees. And we have to change it here. Also, there are several families already loaded for roofs. The select one is this generic roof with 400 mm of thickness. Let's change it to a different one, for example the first family. Here the thickness is 366.5, the sum of all these components. Finally, I can save the changes and have a look at the result at the 3D view. Okay, now as you can imagine, we should join the exterior walls to the roof. And yes, all the four sides, because as you can see, even the walls where I have the slope need to be attached. Okay, this method is simple. Click on this wall, then with the right button, go to Select all instances and entire project. Next, I have to go here and click on Attach to top base, in this case an element at the top. Finally, I select the element which is the roof. Aha! Now our house looks much better. Now on the next chapter we will talk about elevations and how to create sections. So we are now at the ground floor plan. And these symbols indicate there is a view in the direction of the arrow. Those views are the elevations. And by default we have east elevation, north elevation, south elevation and west elevation. Let's open the east elevation, and as you remember, one main characteristic of these views is that we can see the position of each level. Now let's switch to the north elevation, and here we can see the levels are not wide enough. But don't worry, because they are easy to stretch. I go to this grip, click and hold, and as you can see I'm dragging all the levels to the left side. And then I do the same for the right side. The reason they are moving all together is because I have this constraint with this lock, and that means if I extend one line, all the others come together. Then the south elevation have the levels in the same position because these views are parallel planes. And a similar situation happens to the west and east elevations. Now let's learn about sections. To insert a section, we need to be at the floor plan first of all. Then go to View. I'm going to click on Section. And this is simple. I just need to click on 2 points, and in this case I am making a horizontal section. This rectangle is the view range. And what happened here is like I sliced the house at this line, and I am viewing what is inside towards the windows. Then in the project browser you can see that a new group for section appeared. And if I click in this plus, I can see I've generated the section 1. We can see the windows, both exterior and interior walls, and the roof. Okay, we are going to learn how we can edit this. In this arrow, I can switch the direction of the point of view, and this time you can see it's facing towards the door. If I move the area in a way that I leave the doors outside, they will not show in the drawing, only the door that was inside. Finally, a similar situation is if I drag the area to the left, now this part will be hidden. Okay, in this exercise we are also going to draw a vertical section. This time I click in this place, drag the pointer up and click again in this side. Here, the goal of making this section is because I want to check out how the stairs look like inside the building. Basically, I've created a section 2. I'm going to open it, and here you can see the stairs that go from the ground floor up to the first floor. Nice. But now let's go back and open the view of the first floor. This time I'm going to drag the section to this area where this part is not covered by the floor here. When you go back to the section 2, and you will notice that this height between the stairs and the next floor is not high enough for a person to pass through. This means we cannot place the stairs here, so we have to change them. Or maybe changing the house. As you remember, this tutorial is intended to be a practical exercise. So, on the next chapter, we will learn some tips to make modifications to this building. How to change the position of the exterior walls or aligning elements. And basically, we will be using a lot the modify tools. Let's start. On the exercise for the next chapter, we will modify some elements of our house in order to get this result. We are going to change the exterior wall at the front. Then we need to edit the floors. We will learn to create balconies, among other modifications. So let's start. Okay, first I'm going to hide these sections, as they are not necessary right now. I select both elements, and then I will use this tool, Temporary Hide Isolate. In this menu, I'm going to select Hide Element, and you can see the sections are now hidden. This blue border with this label, Temporary Hide Isolate, indicates that the next time that I open this project, the sections will appear again in this view. Now, the next step, I'm going to increase the entrance hall. There are several ways to do this, and the method I will use is splitting the wall with this command, split an element. I'm going to place the cursor on the wall, and let's try to split in this intersection with the interior wall. Now, you have to make sure the wall is highlighted, or one of its tracking lines. Look that it says here, exterior wall. However, if I move a bit up, now it highlights the interior wall instead. And if I click, I splitted the wrong wall. In the warning it says I cannot keep the elements joined. So click on cancel, let's try again. And now I can click here, then I press escape, select the wall, and you can see there are two exterior walls at this moment. Okay. Now let's try to move this wall downwards. They are coming both together. Why? By default, both walls are joined at this point. And I have to do an operation to allow them to separate. One of the ways is click here with the right button and then click on Disallow Join. Now with the Move command, I select this endpoint as my start point, and now I can drag the wall 1000 mm to this side. Nice, but still I have some problems here. First, you can notice the floor came together. That's alright, because this is something we will fix after. Then we have this warning, highlighted walls are attached to but miss the highlighted targets. Sometimes it's a bit hard to notice what the target is, and in this case, it's actually the roof. I can notice that if I switch to the section tool. As you can see, both wall and roof are highlighted because they don't attach to each other anymore. Let's click on detach targets, and then later I have to fix the roof. But let's continue. Back on the ground floor. I'm going to insert now an exterior wall. And now, I think the finished face is not on the right side. Yes, it's true. But we can fix this easily. Just switch the location line to finish face interior. Then I'm going to try again. It's not this the right point. Press escape and try at this end point instead. Yes, it's here. Then click to intersect to the wall below. The walls didn't join because before I activated the option disallow join to the wall. When this happens, just click on this symbol to join the walls again. Now let's view the result in a 3D view. Save the project. And look, the walls are now correct, but there are things we still have to fix here. And next, I can start with editing the floors. Okay, on the ground floor view, let's double click in the gray border, which is the floor. As you can see, now I can edit the boundary. And this time I'm going to use the line tool and connect this point to the intersection between these walls, and after connect down here. Press escape. And next, I have to use a command to erase these portions here. It's this one, trim extend to corner. I simply go to an intersection and click on the segments that I want to keep. And it forms a corner there. Finally, I accept the changes. This first floor is fixed. Then I have to move to the first floor view. Here, I'm going to repeat the process. So I double click on the floor. But this time the boundary will be a bit different, as we are going to create a balcony at the front facade. Now I'm going to displace this grip horizontally to the exterior face of this wall. The start point is here. And then make it with 700 mm of length downwards. Then a new line to where I find this intersection. Make a vertical line to connect here and close the boundary on the corner. Finally, we can use trim extend to corner again to finish editing the floor. Click to accept the changes, and here I click on attach, and we have just finished editing both floors. Now I'm going to the section view, because the next step is changing this room, because I need enough height between the staircase and the floor. To do this, let's go to the Annotate tab and click on Detail Line. With this command, I can create lines exclusively for the current view. Usually we use them to show a detail in the drawing, or in this case, it will help me to modify the room above the stairs. Let's start drawing the line from the floor. And I'm going to make for the height 2200 mm of length. Then draw a new line to the right until it matches the exterior support of this stair. Finally, I make another line, this one vertical, to intersect with the floor, and press escape at the end. Next, it's easy. I only need to move this wall, it's this one on the plan, to align with the detail line below. As you can see, I can pick up the wall and drag it, but sometimes it's hard to have a good accuracy with this method. Press escape, and in my opinion, it's better with the move command or with align. I'm going to show you how this works, as I find it really useful. It's simple. Select the line as a reference, and next I'm going to click on a reference line of an object, this one, and look that it moves exactly to that place. As a curiosity, the floor was adjusted automatically, and this happens when the boundary is aligned with the wall. We are again at the 3D view, and the next step we are going to align the door with the window here. In this case, as we need to align elements located on different floors, the best way is to open the elevation where I can see this facade. It's the south elevation. Now with the command align, first I need to set a reference line at this side of the window, and then I need to pick the entity to align this side of the door, and now the objects are aligned. Okay, I want to take the opportunity to talk about constraints. Can you see this lock here? Now it's open, but if I click to close it, now both elements are constrained with this reference, meaning that if I move the window, the door also comes along to keep the alignment. This is a very important and useful tip in Revit. Also, there is another tip that I didn't mention. The exterior wall has this pattern with too many lines, making it difficult to select references, as the pointer snaps to every line. To facilitate, we can change these graphics. Let's select the wall, go to Edit Type, click on Edit Structure, and now we have to go to the Finish Face, click in the material, and in this window we have to go to the Graphics tab, and here we have the pattern. I'm going to click on it to change it, and in this list, let's go to the top and select No Pattern. Finally, click on OK, close all these windows, and now it would be easier if I want to make modifications here. I'm going also to change the visual style to this one, shaded. It's more interesting. Okay, again in the 3D view, we are going now to place a smaller roof in this part over here. This time I need to go to the roof level view. And we are going to insert another roof by footprint. Like before, we will use Pick Walls and keep an overhang of 300 mm. Then click first in those two walls. And then we will not add a slope for the front edge. So let's remove the tick here and click on the wall. Next, with the line tool, I'm going to connect this point with the line on the left. And finally, I can trim to corner to remove this part which is not needed. Let's accept the changes. And now, would you like to attach the highlighted walls to the roof? Let's attach, and due to my answer, you can see that the wall at the right is now attached to the roof. However, the one at the left wasn't, and I need to do it manually. Let's select this wall, and the one at the left, because both I need to attach to the roof. Press Ctrl and select this one again. Now go to Attach, and click on the roof to finish this step. Now, all the walls are attached to the roofs, as far as I am aware of. But you can see this small roof is not very effective yet, because I have to join it to the main one. And there is a very simple tool for this. Click on this button, Join and Join Roof. Select the edge you want to attach, and finally select the face of the main roof you would like to join to. There is a little problem here. This part hasn't joined properly, and I will tell you why. Go back to the roof level. Let's use the same tool, but this time to unjoin the roof. Now I select the same edge. Okay, the roof is back in its original position. Now I'm going to double click on it to open the edit mode, and that problem happened because this roof was overlapped with the main roof here in this part. So I'm going to drag this line a bit down Now that they don't touch, I can accept the changes. Let's repeat the process again. And you can see now it's much better. Okay, now we are going to create a railing to this balcony. So let's go this time to the first floor view. And I'm going to activate the command railing. This shares the same method as floors, but this time we will pick the line tool, which is the default option by the way. Let's set an offset distance of 100 mm, so the railing will not be in the limit of the floor. It's better to leave a space here. Then I click on chain to create a railing easily all along the slab. I will make 3 lines, but on the left side I'm going to link it with the wall here. And the remaining segment, let's push it down to the intersection. I click to accept changes, and now I can go to the 3D view to have a general look of the balcony in this perspective. On the properties, you can change the railing type, as there are a couple of them already loaded here. Finally, to access to the balcony, I think there is something we should change. Of course, we could jump over this window, but maybe it would be better with a door. Let's go to the first floor. First, I'm going to delete the current window, and then go to the command door. I have to save the project, and then just go here and insert it more or less there. The exact position is not important because we are going to align it with the window. To do this, I'm going to open the south elevation, then I'm going to the Modify tab, click on Align. Now for the reference line of alignment, select the center reference of the window, and next click on the center reference of this door. Then you can also lock the constraint in case we want to move the elements along this wall respecting the alignment. Later, if I want to change the door family, I go to the Insert tab, click on Load Autodesk Family, and search for the door family you would like. As an example, I'm going to choose this one. Click on Load, select the door, click on the family in the properties, and choose a type of this family that I just inserted. Now let's return the topic about floors. Do you remember? We've placed a floor for the first 2 levels, but not for the roof level. In order to avoid having the roof over us, I'm going to make another one for this level. To make it easier, let's hide the roof with the temporary Hide Isolate. This time I'm going to select the small one, click on the glasses, and choose Hide Category. With this, I'm hiding all the roofs that are visible in this view. Now let's activate Floor and pick all the exterior walls, and don't forget to click on the internal side of each wall. Confirm the changes. Then I'm going to click on Attach here, so the interior walls on this first floor will attach to its bottom. Then, there is a warning. Highlighted walls miss the highlighted targets. This is actually referring the 5 exterior walls. If you click in this button, it shows the 5 warnings with a different wall being highlighted. As they are attached to the roof, they were not modified, which is actually what I want. Click on OK. Here, yes. And when you look at the section view, you can see the walls are attached on the side, but they keep attached to the roof. On the next chapter, we will insert ceilings in Revit. Usually, ceilings are not visible in floor plans, because if they were, we couldn't see the objects below. For that reason, we have ceiling plans and we can find them on the project browser. So, I'm going to open the ceiling plan for the ground floor and then I'm going to activate the command ceiling. For the type, the one by default, called generic, is invisible right now because it is in white color. So I recommend to select a compound ceiling with a grid, so it's going to be easier to see. Now, currently, the option automatic ceiling is turned on, and it means I create a ceiling in an area closed by walls. Now let's hover the pointer over the floor plan, and you can see I would create a ceiling for everything between the exterior walls. Why is that happening? Actually, the problem here is due to the height offset from level, as currently is 2600 mm, which is above the top offset of the walls. So I'm going to set a height offset from level for the ceiling a bit below. I think 2450 should be fine. Finally, as you can see, now it works, and I can create a ceiling automatically for each room. Then, for the hall and corridor, as I don't want to cover here where I have the stairs, I'm going to change the method to sketch ceiling, and with this, I just draw it in the same way as for the stairs, rooms, or roofs. When I finish filling all the boundary, I click on the tick, and the last ceiling is placed on the ground floor. Nice! Now we can open the first floor view, the ceiling plan of course, and repeat the same process. The height offset is correct, so I just need to click on every room again, and this time there aren't stairs anymore, so it's easy. Now let's have a look in a section view. We can see the ceilings right below a floor, and the distance from the level is the one I defined, 2450. This new chapter is about assigning rooms to the floor plans. Later, this will be useful for creating room schedules and to complement the building information model. We will start with the ground floor, and to create the room, we have to click on the command located on the Architecture tab. To place a room, I just need to hover the pointer in an area surrounded by walls and click with the left button. Then you can continue adding the remaining rooms and look that each blue area is the room boundary. One curiosity, I can use the help of these track lines if I want to align the labels, so they will look more organized. The last one will be the hall corridor, and press escape to exit. Now we can start renaming the labels of each room. That's easy. Place the pointer over the text, double click on it, and now you can rename the room with the proper name. This one is the living room. Now we can keep changing the name for all the others. And please note, each room tag with the current type, this is important, has a number which started from number 1 and continues so on, the room name, and its area calculated both on square meters and square feet. Of course, it doesn't have to be necessary in this way, as by default there are other types that we can choose from. The current one is name, number and both areas. This will be only the name and the number, and that one instead if I just want the name and the area in square meters. Now I'm going to fast forward this part, and you will be free to assign the names that you would like in this exercise. This is just an example. Okay, I have just the room 7 left. Now I want to take the opportunity to introduce to you the room separator. It's the button at the right. And this is how it works. I draw a line, for example, between this corner and the opposite wall, to divide this area in two. The former room is now smaller, and now the boundary has its limits at the room separator. Also, look that the area was updated. Now it's only 8 square meters, instead of the previous 23. Let's rename this as corridor, for example. And finally, I need to create an extra room for the area where I have the stairs. For the name, it can be entrance hall. Now we have to go to the first floor and do exactly the same. Open the view. Now press the button Room. And then fill in all this floor plan. This time I decided to not separate the corridor and the stairs area. And another tip, we cannot add this slab for the balcony as a room. Notice as well that the numbers continue from where I left last time. As I finished with number 8, the first room I inserted here started with number 9. And yes, it's not possible to have the same number for 2 different rooms, but we can change the numbers. Then, rename each tag with the correct rooms, or choose your personal ones. Now let's learn 2 couple of tips. To select a room, I need to approach the tag with the pointer, move a bit, and I have to click in the moment when I can see these crossing lines and the room boundary. Also, if I try to move the room, the only thing I can displace is just these crossing lines, because the room area is defined by the walls. When the room is selected, I can change the number, name, or other identity data. While if I select the tag instead, I can only set the properties of the tag itself, like the orientation or the angle. Finally, to move the tag to a different place of the room, make sure it's not selected first, then go to the tag, click and hold the left button, and with this you can put it where you want. In this chapter, we are going to add dimensions to our project. The method we are going to use is duplicate the floor plans, both ground and first floor, so we will have a copy of each plan just for the dimensions. Okay, go to the project browser, right click, then I'm going to duplicate view and click on duplicate. As you can see, I just created a new view without the rooms because they are considered detailing elements. That's why there was also an option duplicate with detailing, if you want to keep those elements as well, in this case the rooms. Okay, then go to the first floor and repeat the same process. Click again on duplicate. After, I have to rename each new view, and let's keep the same name but type dimensions in parentheses. Okay, in the exercise for this chapter, we will complete the views that we have just created, and we will start with the one on the ground floor. This is the final result we are going to get. So, to start drawing a dimension line, we have to go to the Annotate tab, and here you can see the Dimensions panel. Let's click on Align Dimension. And how does this work? It's simple, we just have to click into Reference Lines and then drag the pointer to the middle and click again to confirm the dimension. Now, as you can see, at this moment the references I've picked were the wall center lines. But this is not what I want, as I need the internal distance between both walls. So in this case, we have to change this option to wall faces. Repeat the process again, and now you can see the result. It's exactly as I wanted. Now be careful. Let's place another dimension. Pick the objects right away, and now look. After selecting the two references, you cannot click again in the second reference, because it undoes the selection and we need to insert the dimension again. Okay, let's press escape and let's move to the next room. I'm going to pick this reference this time, then the second one, and now I can move the pointer towards the direction of the previous dimension, and look that the program automatically snaps in order to align them. Then there are two more rooms to the right side, so now I encourage you to pause this video and try to place all these three dimensions just by yourself. Let's continue. This time it will be a vertical dimension, from this window until the wall below. And then I do the same exactly in the same direction, but for this room, which is the office 2. Click to confirm it, and then insert another vertical dimension here, and also another one in the kitchen. Press escape. On the main entrance, I've added the vertical and horizontal dimensions of this area. And for this one, click on this face of the exterior wall and then place it in this side. In the living room and in the office too, there is a horizontal dimension in each room. Then another one in the corridor. And for the last two dimensions, I will show you a new tip. Click on this wall face, and now instead of placing the annotation object here, go to the exterior wall and click there to continue the dimension to that side. Now, on the next step, I'm going to show you how to insert multiple dimensions in an entire wall. First, I'm going to change this tab to entire walls, and on the options, I need to put a tick on openings and more specifically on widths. Basically, I will add the dimension for the total width of the windows. Okay, this is easy. I just need to click on the wall, and as you can see, I'm placing dimensions between each opening. Right away, I'm going to click on the north wall and bring all these dimensions here. Then I do the same on this side, and finally for the two exterior walls. After this part, I want to add more dimensions, but this time with the full length of the wall. And for that, I have to remove the tick from openings. Click on OK. So I am placing another dimension after the ones already exist there, and you can also see that the pointer snaps in order to respect a specific spacing between the lines. Here in the main facade, first I insert the dimension for this wall, and then what I can do is click and drag on this grip to this face. So, the ground floor is finished. Next, I need to switch to the first floor, and on this picture, you can see the dimensions we have to insert this time. Feel free to pause this video and try to make them by yourself. The process is the same, and in this tutorial I will only explain one line because we have to set a different option. So let's go to the options bar and change this to entire walls, then click on options and change the current settings to intersecting walls. Then I'm going to select this wall and put these new dimensions over here. this new dimension line is divided in segments between the walls it intersects. Now have a look at this wall's intersection. You can see that next to the wall width there is this dimension with value 0. Usually this happens when you have an underlay level below where you can see the walls in the first floor. Even this time we cannot see them because there is a floor element here. I'm going to change the range base level on the underlay to none and insert the dimensions again. Save the project and aha! Now I am only considering the walls here, and you can see the dimensions are now with the right intersections. On the next chapter we will talk about components, the command at the right of the command window. Here we can find the categories that don't have a specific command, unlike doors and windows, for example. So furniture, plumbing fixtures, casework or lighting, even others, go to this list. As in the beginning the families loaded are not a lot, it means that we probably have to load the Autodesk families here. First of all, I'm going to create a copy of both floor plans. And I will start with the ground floor. Click with the right button, go to Duplicate, and this time select this option, Duplicate with Detailing. As you can see, the rooms, as they are annotation elements, are preserved. Then I have to rename the new view to Ground Floor Furnished. After, I'm going to do the same, but for the first floor. Again, Duplicate with Detailing, and then just rename this view as well. Okay, then, as in this chapter, we want to insert some elements like furniture, plumbing fixtures to the bathrooms, or the components for the kitchen. Let's make two 3D views, one for the ground floor and other for the first floor. Now, let's open the 3D ground floor, and I'm going to activate this option, section box. With this, we can control, with the help of these grips, the part of the project that I want to show on this view. Let's have it in a way that I can see all the rooms in the ground floor. Like this. Perfect. Now let's switch to the first floor. I'm going to do the same, but in this case, I am going to put the visible section up to this height. So now I can see everything on the first floor. Now let's go to the kitchen and insert some casework, as well as a sink. To do so, I'm going to the Insert tab and load Autodesk Family. In this window, I'm going to choose Casework and load a couple of families in my project. In our example, we are going to insert this Casework base, this another one, and a countertop. This one. Okay, now on the Architecture tab, click on Components, and I'm going to insert first this casework. I select a type and place it on the corner. But before clicking on it, look that I am able to rotate by pressing the space bar. So it's easy, as you can see. Then let's insert a casework base, press the spacebar once, and I will place it next to the previous element. Then another one here, and the third. This time I need to rotate it several times, and don't forget the pointer must be on the back. And now I place it to the other direction. The next step, we need to go to the Modify tab, activate the Command Align, to put the casework, to put all the elements next to each other without having gaps there. I can also constrain them here. So if I move one element, all the others come together. The next thing, we need to put the countertop above all these cabinets. There is also a sink there, but the problem is that the sink position is not exactly where I want, as it had to be on the left side. But don't worry, because we can use some tools at the Modify panel to fix this. First, I need the rotate command. Click now to enter the rotate ray, and then move to the left with an angle of 90 degrees. After, I need to use the mirror command with the option Draw Axis. It's simple. I'm going to draw an axis, and the element will mirror to the other side of the line. Great. Now I need to erase the former element. And finally, move the countertop, click on it, activate Move. Let's select this corner as the base point and place it at the corner of the house. Then, with the grips, I can drag the countertop to cover all the cabinets or use the Align tool in this way. Going back to the 3D view, this is how these elements look like inside the kitchen. As you can see, all the cabinets are facing correctly. Now, after inserting these elements in the kitchen, on the next step, we will continue with other furniture elements, but this time from the furniture category. Again, we will need to load them from the Autodesk Families icon. Now I click on Furniture, and here I'm going to insert several elements that I want to place in this room. The office too. So, let's add this bookshelf, for example. Then I need an office chair and also a chair for the desk itself, a table for meetings, and also this furniture table high level. It looks nice. Then I click on Load. I have to wait to download the families. And now let's proceed to place them on the house. After clicking on Components, the element that appears by default is the last one loaded, this furniture table meeting. I can rotate it if I want by simply pressing the space bar, but in this case I just want it horizontal. Now in the end, click again to put the table on the view. Nice. To insert another element, I can click directly on the family on Properties. I'm going to choose the other table. It only has one type, as you can see. For example, put it here. Now, let's search for the furniture desk. And if you remember the family name, in this list they are sorted by alphabetical order. Or you can either look at the symbol. Aha, here it is. There are several types. I'm going to choose this one. And let's place the desk next to the wall. Now I'm going to insert the bookshelves. I think they are better next to this wall. And of course, now I have to move the position of this table. Press Escape, select it. I can move it right away or with the Move command. Let's find exactly the middle to be my point of displacement. And then let's move temporarily to this side. After we will see what to do. Finally, I need to add the chairs. I'm going to start with the desk chair. And if I press the spacebar, I am rotating it 90 degrees. I place it here right in the middle. Next, I put an office chair here. And this time I'm going to show you a great tip to place 4 chairs in a symmetric way. For that, I'm going to use this command, mirror pick axis. I select the chair, press enter, then I find this vertical axis, and you can see the chair is mirrored to the other side. So now to place 2 chairs on the other side of the table, I just need to do the same process. This time I select both and click on the command after is the same. And finally pick up the horizontal axis. Now I can go to the 3D view to have a look how these elements look like in the office. Now let's learn some tips. Suppose I decided or I realized I don't want this table here. I can delete it simply, but it is still loaded on the components list. So in order to avoid having loads of families here that I'm not going to use them, I can go to the project browser, click here on families, and this is the place where I can unload the families that I don't want in this project. I expand furniture, select the table high level cafe, right click and choose delete. Now going back to the components list, it's no longer there. Other interesting and important feature is that I can create a group for elements that I want them to be together. For example, the meeting table and its chairs. And the chairs. I'm going to click on this chair, then hold the button Ctrl and click on the other elements. Then find this button in the Modify tab, Create Group. So I'm going to create a group for these objects and I have to insert a name for the group. Click on OK. Now you can see that if I move the table, the 4 chairs come together as well. After, I will do the same, but for the desk and the chair. Select both, create a group, put a name for it, desk and chair, office 2, and you can see I have now the same situation. After inserting furniture for one of the offices, we will load more plumbing fixtures here, this time for the WC1 on the ground floor. Let's go to Load Architecture Families, click on Plumbing, and now we will select one of the subcategories, Showers. By doing this, the list here will be shorter, and consequently it's easier to find the family that we want. I'm going to choose this one and click on Load. Now, there is a faster way to insert components on the project than switching to the Architecture tab and then clicking on the Component button, which is using its shortcut. So type CM and component is active. Now I can insert the last element loaded, the shower. I'm going to put it here on the corner. And press Escape. Now let's go again to load an Autodesk family. This time I need water closets. And I can use this family. Now, an alternative way of inserting a specific type of a family is with the project browser. It's a faster way if you know the category it belongs, this time is a plumbing fixture, so you can see it here. Let's expand the family, and as it only has a type, I'm going to click on it with the right button and create instance. Now press the spacebar to rotate it and place this water closet next to the wall. Okay, The next element we need here is a sink for the bathroom. We have to find it in Fixtures, go to Sinks, and this time, can you see this kind of families with a wall behind? And don't get it wrong, the family doesn't come with a wall, and it just means it is hosted by a wall and cannot be placed without it. So let's insert this one, find it here on Sink, select this type, create instance, and as you can see, the sink only shows when I drag the cursor along a wall, and click when you have the pointer exactly in the face that you want to insert the element. Now, next, another element we need here is a casework, and this time is a wall cabinet. Like the sink, these kind of families need a wall as well. And for example, I'm going to insert this one. For now, let's place it just next to the sink. This time, this is located on Casework Wall Unit, and let's choose the first family. Create instance, and place it for now here. And on the next step, we are going to align these elements. I think it's something you already know how to do it. Yes, with the Align tool. First, let's find the middle axis of the sink, click on it, and then select the middle of the cabinet to align both elements along the Z-axis. Lock this constraint. And then I will also align the water closet with the previous objects. Let's constrain the movement as well. And as you can see, if I move one of the elements, all the others will follow together. Now, I encourage you to furnish all the rooms of this house, so it's a great way to practice. I will skip doing that in this tutorial, as it would take considerable time in this video, and I think it's more valuable to continue forward with this project. Also, if you want to know more about furnitures or other categories that you can insert from the command component, please watch the video that I shared to you in the card above. That's all in this video. Please feel free to visit my page on Patreon, where you can support this channel if you're happy, of course, and there you can also get access to the exercise files. I would really appreciate that, even of course, I'm already grateful that you find these videos useful for you. So, thank you very much for watching, see you next time.